All right, guys, we are going to be reacting to the first time you realize America really messed up. This is going to be part 2. Let's jump in.
God, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
When I was dancing in Australia, I did a jump and landed on the outside of my right foot. I sprained it real bad. And they drove me to a private hospital, and I was like panicking.
Damn.
But anyway, that's the one that was available to me at the time. And on my way into the lobby, I was, hobbling on my crutches. And they spotted me from the parking lot. The doctor came out to me before I even was in the building and went back into the hospital and told them that I was coming. In the waiting room, they came into the waiting room to examine my foot. And I never paid a penny for that shit.
So I can make like 200 of these, but I'll just talk about the first time I realized how fucked up the US is, which was in the first week that I got to Sweden, when my boyfriend's family told me that I need to make sure I get insured, and that I get insurance for everything I own, my laptop, my bike, my apartment, my whole body. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's so expensive. Like, I'm already super in debt with student loans, so no. But I asked out of curiosity, just like how much it was going to cost. $100 a year to insure everything I have. For reference, like the average American person spends $456 a month just on health insurance.
And again, it's a health insurance that it doesn't even cover everything, guys. You still have to pay out of your pocket. That's crazy, man.
Just for healthcare. That doesn't include cars or home insurance.
Okay, so I'm not currently living abroad, but I did live in Australia for a few months. And one night while I was there, I got a little bit too crazy, and I ended up on public transportation without a phone, and I had to find my way back to my apartment. And I got lost, and while I got off the tram to get onto a different tram to take me home, a middle-aged gentleman came up to me, and I immediately went into attack mode, and I was like going to kill him. And he was like, no, I was just gonna tell you which tram to take to get back to Preston. And that was when I realized that in Australia, I didn't need to be afraid. Like, granted, take precautions, but I didn't need to be afraid of every man. But in America, I still am.
What do you guys think about that statement? That's kind of effed up. You feel like that? That's kind of messed up. Let me know what you guys think.
I've been waiting for this one. So at the time, I was living in Germany, and I had gotten food poisoning after traveling back from a country. And I was so sick. I was not eating, not taking anything. And it had been 4 or 5 days. It was really bad. I was too afraid to go to the hospital, one, because I was afraid I couldn't translate. But two, I just didn't want to deal with everything. But my friend said, no, we have to go. So I went. Tell me why we didn't have to wait on an emergency line. I was in the emergency room looking around. I was like, where do I sign in? Where's the line? Where are all the people? And they're like, no, you can go right in and go sit down. We'll be right with you. And I literally walked straight into the office, straight in. And while I was struggling to explain what was going on, they brought in 5 different doctors of each different one. And it only took them 5 minutes to come each time. When they realized they couldn't help me, it was somebody else they needed. And I didn't have to pay anything on top of that.
I'm an American living abroad in Thailand. We've been living here for a year now. So we literally moved here when the pandemic started. My husband had a business trip right before the country closed to Singapore. He came back from Singapore with a fever. So they transported him to a hospital. That hospital, however, didn't have the facilities for full-on quarantine, and so they transported him using an ambulance to another hospital where he was COVID tested and quarantined. Luckily, he tested negative, but he still spent 2 days in the hospital and was transported by ambulance. And so I was thinking the cost was going to be so expensive. The overall cost of it was less than $300, where back in the States, I know it would have been thousands.
Thousands. I can't imagine, man. I saw a bill over $25,000 for an ambulance, man. It was insane, guys. Seriously, our healthcare system needs to be reformed completely.
It's just incredible to me that healthcare is affordable.
So I'm from LA and I moved to Singapore. And before coming here, I asked all my friends if I should bring anything like, a pepper spray just in case anything happens. And they were like, no, that's like actually illegal. I don't think that they're allowed to have any kind of weapon. And I was like, what? We literally put them in our keychains as accessories. I was like, how do you defend yourself? They were like, from what? You don't have to. It's so safe. I was like, no way. So I Googled it, and no one is allowed to use greater force than necessary to defend themselves. What? The US can't ban guns, but Singapore can ban pepper sprays?
So I didn't realize this until I moved abroad, but Americans have a very strange concept of freedom. Like, when you're growing up, you're always told that America is such an amazing place and, it's the land of the free, home of the brave, but, like, I keep hearing these criticisms from people like, oh yeah, but America has the most freedom. Wow, yeah, freedom. I mean, there may be a few exceptions or nuances, but in the UK, you're still free. Like, that is the biggest lie that Americans are ever told, that there aren't other free places. Like, I don't understand. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I feel like the concept is kind of destroying American democracy. How ironic. Like, they need to kind of understand that they need to work on things to make themselves better and more free for their citizens.
So just for a little context.
Yeah, I don't understand that part. Like, yeah, I don't know. This is something that I struggle with a lot, right? The concept of what really freedom means. What is freedom? In a sense of, is freedom that you really want to do whatever the hell you want to do? Or you don't want to be accountable? Or you have a freedom to adjust to the community? Right, I struggle with that concept of freedom. And that's something that a lot of Americans are still struggling.
I live in Latvia now, but when this happened to me, I was working in the UK as a bartender. And my coworkers and I were talking about gun violence in the US, and they were kind of making jokes like, oh, I'm surprised you graduated and you didn't get shot first, and stuff like that. And I guess I was trying to defend it. So I was saying, it's not as bad as the news makes it seem. I only know one school that had an active shooter and had to go into lockdown. And, for me, I only had one gun threat in high school, and it was just a threat, and one when I was in elementary school. And then my coworkers kind of looked at me like, you what? And you think that's normal? And I was like, yeah, it's not even that bad.
I was in Grenada
actually very
for
funny.
a couple of weeks, and every single day between 12 and 2, they would always close down. Everything would just close down. And I was just like, what is going on? And they were like, well, we need to go home and have lunch with our family, just enjoy, just relax a little bit. And that was when I realized every other country out here really understands the value of spending time with your loved ones and just actually taking a break, except America. America just teaches us to work for labor instead of actually living. So don't procrastinate on your happiness, sis. Your worth is not in labor. It's a luxury. Do what you want to do and be happy.
Oh, I've got a couple. So I'm from Los Angeles.
And again, you will see a lot that kind of talking point where the work-life balance is not there. And that's very important because it does make huge difference. So I work from home and I can be with my family. Right now I cannot see myself in a position where I need to go outside my house and work with the person in my family. And I understand when my wife needs help. We do homeschooling for our kids. And it does make the difference, guys. People can see the difference. Our kids behave very well. They're very well mannered. It is very important to understand that work-life balance is a main priority that needs to be taken in the United States.
And now I live in Austria. And basically when I first started working here, they were like, you get 25 days vacation, Fridays off early, and if you're sick, don't come into work. And I was just like, I was floored. Because in the US, you only get 10 days vacation and like 5 sick days, and you don't get Fridays off early. You better work your ass until it's 9 p.m. On top of all of that, all my friends here have like 2 masters, 3 PhDs, etc., 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 because education here is actually free.
PhD,
Amazing.
really?
What an amazing concept. In addition, I have yet to see a large homeless community out in the open here in Austria because the government actually offers some social support. A lot of social support.
Well, the thing is that they actually receive a lot of social support here in the United States. Way too many, by the way. Way too many. Way too many. Our problem in the United States is not the support, it's the drugs. Too many of these homeless, they're currently. Here's the thing: a lot of those homeless are homeless because if they get into a shelter, they cannot use the drugs. You see what I'm saying? So basically, they tell them like, you can be here. We're gonna give you food. We're gonna give you a shelter. We're gonna give you a place to live. Everything, everything. But you cannot be using drugs. That's our huge problem.
In LA, you have villages, streets, blocks full of homeless people because our government doesn't care about us. And here, people like don't measure their worth off the car they drive.
Okay, so I live in New York now, but I used to live in England. And one time I was out at this bar with my friends, and these 2 cops walked by. And one of my friends was like, "Oh, I wonder why there are cops out right now." And I looked at the cops and I got really confused. And I was like, "Those are cops?" And my friends were like, "Yeah." And I was like, they don't have guns. And everyone was like, why would they have guns? They were like so aghast at that question. And I realized in that moment and learned that guns, there are so few guns in the UK, and it's such not an issue that like the everyday cop does not carry a gun. And I was just, there are houses in America that have seen more guns in them than a fresh vegetable. It blew my fucking mind. I think about it all the time. I hate guns so much. I hate guns so much.
Damn, man. He probably had some bad experience. Oof.
And my friend needed an ambulance. We weren't going to get an ambulance because of the cost. And then we learned that in Italy, it's free for ambulances. We were literally like, wow, it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars for an ambulance. That is crazy. A human life is in fact more valuable than profit here. It is so sad that we have accepted if you are in a vulnerable health situation, it will cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and many people go into medical debt because of this. Where are our priorities?
Wow. It just shows you, man, it's crazy because Americans do have a different. Listen, I do believe Americans need to travel more and explore the world outside the United States, because I do believe that will help them have a different perspective. A different perspective of how the world really works. Also, our education is not even good. Yeah, I'm glad that a lot of Americans are simply traveling and just seeing these things from their own eyes and seeing these type of different experiences. Let me know what you guys see in the comment section below, guys. I will see you in the next one.